Hello and welcome to tonight's JV boys basketball between the Emmanuel Lancers and the Eleva-Strum Cardinals. Taking the tip will be Thompson and number 5, Stevens. And we are off. Thompson wins the tip and gonna tip it over to Radical. Radical's got it up top. Goes around, gonna pass over to Miller. Miller back up top to Radical. Over to Cornish. Cornish back up top to Radical. Over to Miller. Miller scanning, gonna cut back out. Sends it over to Cornish. Cornish tries to drive around, gonna send it over to Miller. Miller tries to drive in. Stops, and gonna send it back out to Thompson. Thompson all the way over to Radical. Radical drives in. Fakes, gonna pass over to Miller. Just hangs onto it. Sends it up top to Radical. Radical scanning. Gonna go inside and pass over to Miller. Down low to Thompson. Thompson jumper and air ball's too far. Rebounded by number 20, Hillstead. And Ty will take it up the floor. Passes over to Hansen. Over to Hillstead. Back over to Hanner. Down low to Ty and out of bounds off the Cardinals. Thompson will pass it into Radical, and he will take it up the floor. Radical drives around. Gonna send it up top to Miller. Over to Cornish. Down low to Leduc. Up top to Thompson, stolen away by Hansen. Gonna drive in all the way, put it up, and is fouled. Hansen will pass it in down low. Sends it over to Hanner. Up top to Ty. Over to Stevens, over to Hansen. Hansen a 3, and it bounced off the inside of the rim. Rebounded by Hillstead. Passes down low, and back up top to Ty. Ty drives in, puts it up, and can't get it off the glass. Tipped around, and out of bounds off the Cardinals. Lands their ball. Falkenberg will enter for Cornish. And Thompson will pass it in down low. Sends it into Radical. Radical all the way over to Miller. Miller will drive and pass it to Thompson. Tipped out of his hands and picked up by Hillstead. He drives all the way in, puts it up, and can't get it off the glass. Picked up by Radical. Radical going to try to push it and pass over to Thompson. Thompson tries to go inside, cuts back out. Makes a move. And sends it down low through the legs of Falkenberg over to Radical. Radical passes all the way over to Miller. Miller fakes, gonna drive in, pass down low to Leduc. And 3 seconds in the lane. Hansen gonna pass over to Hanner. Up top to Ty. Ty takes a 3. And off the corner of the rim. Over to Hansen. Hansen will dribble it back out up top. Gonna drive, cut back out, and pass over to Ty. Gonna go around and pass out to number 3, Hanner. Hanner a 3, and he's got it! Pass into Radical. Radical over to Thompson. Thompson over to Miller. Miller pass over to Thompson. Gonna send it back over to Miller. Miller drives around, gonna pass on to Falkenberg. Down to Radical. Mishandles the pass and is stolen away by Hanner. Hanner up the floor. Puts up a 3. And he's got it again! Hanner, 2 straight beautiful 3s. And the Cardinals have a 6-point lead, 6-0. Radical's pass is tipped and out of bounds, Lancer ball. Radical pass into Thompson. He will drive in and pass over to Miller. Miller gonna drive around and pass over to Thompson. Thompson drives in, puts up a jumper, and he's got it. Puts the Lancers on the board and cuts the deficit to 4, 6-2. Pass over to Hansen. Gonna try to drive in, cut back out, and pass over to Hillstead. All the way over to the corner to Anderson. Up top to Hansen. Hansen sends it all the way down low to Anderson. Up top to Ty, and this time he's off. Back up top. Hillstead a 3, and he's got it off the glass. 3 threes for the Cardinals. They have a 7-point lead, 9-2. Radical's got it. He's stuck, and timeout by the Lancers. 9-2, 12 minutes left in the first half. 7-point lead for the Cardinals. Pass into Thompson. He's gonna pass over to Radical. Radical back up top to Thompson. Sends over to Miller. Miller scanning. Gonna try to drive up top. Sends on low to Leduc. Up top to Miller. Miller fakes, drives around, and passes on to Falkenberg. Out to Thompson. Thompson over to Miller. Miller drives around. And sends over to Radical. Radical over to Thompson. Thompson a 3. And he's got it! First 3 of the night for the Lancers. Thompson's got it, and a 4-point deficit for the Lancers. Anderson up top. Pass over to Hillstead. Back over to Anderson. Anderson drives in and gonna pass out to Hanner. Back over to Hansen. Sends over to Stevens. Stevens over to Hansen. Up top to Anderson. Over to Stevens. Back over to Anderson. Over to Hansen. Hansen a 3. And airballs this one. Sorry, Hanner. Keeney and Bauer will enter for Leduc and Miller. And Keeney will pass him down low. Cardinals press the line C team, and they have not let up here at JV. Passing to Thompson. Thompson will try to take up the floor. Pass over to Keeney. Keeney over to Bauer. Bauer all the way over to Radical. Down low and stolen away by Hillstead. Hanner up the floor. Sends it all the way over to Hansen. Gonna drive in, put it up, and can't get it to fall. Rebounded by Stevens. And he is fouled on the floor. Cornish will enter for Radical. And Hansen will pass it in down low. Sends it over to Anderson. Over to Stevens. Up top to Hansen. Back over to Hansen. Fake, drives in, and gonna pass out, and stolen away by Thompson. Pass over to Keeney. Keeney's gonna drive around. Gonna pass it on to Falkenberg. Down low to Bauer. Bauer, the easy layup, and he's got it. Cuts the lead down to 2, 9-7. Anderson up top. Pass over to Hansen. Over to Hanner. Back over to Anderson. Up top to Hillstead. Drives in and going to pass out to Anderson. Makes a fake, drives inside, makes a move, and can't get it to fall. And there'll be a foul. Nope, sorry, travel. Radical will pass it in down low as he enters for Thompson. Sends it into Keeney. Keeney drives up and passes over to Cornish. Cornish going to pass over to Keeney. Keeney up top to Falkenberg and picked up by Stevens. Can't control it and tips out of bounds. Keeney will pass it in to Radical. And he'll pass it on to Bauer. And jump ball, and that'll go with the Cardinals. Leduc will enter for Falkenberg. And Ty will pass it in to Anderson. Anderson makes a move, and gonna pass out to Ty. Ty a 3, and off the corner of the rim, rebounded by Bauer. Sends over to Radical. Radical drives in, takes the pass down low, and gonna pass it up top to Cornish. Cornish drives around and is fouled. Cornish has got it. Gonna send it over to Radical. Radical down low to Leduc. Leduc puts it up. And off the back of the rim, tipped around and picked up by Radical. Pass over to Keeney. Keeney fakes. Gonna pass out to Radical. Radical down low to Leduc. Leduc puts it up. And bounces off and out and rebound. Ooh! Tipped out of bounds by Stevens. Ty's got it up top. Pass down low. And Anderson's pass is blocked. Ends up getting over to Hainstead. Misses a 3 and picked up by Radical. Radical drives around and is stripped and picked up by Anderson. Pass over to Hanner. Hanner drives in and going to pass out to Ty. Ty a 3. And off the inside of the rim, rebounded by Bauer. Pass over to Radical, and he'll take up the floor. Drives around, pass over to Cornish. Cornish up top to Keeney. Keeney gonna try to drive in and pass over to Cornish. Cornish drives in, puts up a jumper, and air ball's too far. Rebounded by Hanner. Pass up to Ty. Ty goes in, puts it up, and off the back of the rim, rebounded by Radical. He's got a 1-on-3, and is stripped by Stevens. Tipped out and into the hands of Hanner. Hanner up the floor. Passes over to Ty. Stevens over to Hainstead. Back up top to Ty. Sends it over. And down low to Armstead. Pass over and airballed 3 by Hanner. Thompson and Miller will enter for Cornish and Keeney. And pass into Thompson. Over to Miller and down low to Leduc. Leduc drives in. Passes out to Miller. Scanning. Gonna send it over to Leduc. Down low to Radical. Radical puts it up and he's got it. Ties up the game at 9 apiece with 6:40 left. Tie up the floor, pass over to Stevens. Sends it over to Hansen. Hansen drives in, and gonna pass over and out to Ty. Sends it over to Hanner, over to Hansen. Hansen fakes, drives around, and sends it out over to Stevens. Over to Ty. Ty drives in, and he is fouled. Falkenberg will enter for Bauer. And Hare will enter for Anderson. Hansen will pass it in, sends over to Ty, up top to Stevens. Back over to Ty, Ty a 3. And bounces off the rim and out, rebounded by Thompson. Sends it over to Radical. Down low to Falkenberg. Puts it up and bounces out, rebounded by Miller. Miller off the glass and he's got it. Tanner will pass it into Ty and he'll take up the floor. Gonna try to drive in and pass out to Hanner. Hare's got it, gonna pass out to Ty. Over to Hansen. Like up top to Ty. Ty gonna pass over to Hansen. All the way over to Hare. Sends it over to Hanner. Pass it out to Stevens and stolen away by Falkenberg. Radical's gonna push, he's got a 2-on-2, pass over to Miller. Miller stops and passes out to Leduc. Leduc puts up a jumper. Off the rim, rebounded by Radical. He puts it back up and he's got it. Lancers now with a 4-point lead, 13-9 with 5:10 left. Tie up the floor. Over to Hare, and Hare will try to push in. Sends it down low to Stevens, off his face, gets it back, and sends it up top to Hansen. Over to Hanner. Over to Ty. Up top to Hansen. Over to Hanner. Hanner drives around and pass out to Ty. Types up a jumper, and he's got it. Cuts the lead down to 2 with 4:40 left. Thompson's got it, nearly stripped, gets it back. Stuck in the corner, passes all the way to Radical. Radical drives in, passing low to Miller. Miller back in the corner, all the way over to Thompson. Thompson a 3, and he's got it. Second 3 tonight by Thompson. It's a big one, gives Lancers a 5-point lead with 4:20 left. Tie up the floor. Pass over to Hanner, over to Hare. Hare a 3, and he airballs. Off to Stevens and out of bounds. That'll be Lancer ball. Hillstead will enter for Hare. And Radical passes it in. The press returns for the Cardinals. Pass over to Thompson. Up top to Radical. Radical over to Miller. Miller drives in, puts it up, and he's got it off the glass. Good drive by Miller, and the Lancers have a 7-point lead, 18-11 with 3:50 left. Tie up the floor. Passes over, and a 3 by Hansen. Bounces off the boards, off the glass, and Miller's got it. Drives in, and he's fouled. Radical will pass it in down low. Bauer will enter for Leduc. And Radical will pass it in to Miller up top. Gonna drive around, pass on low to Falkenberg. Falkenberg sets up a jumper and bounces out, rebounded by Bauer. Bauer down low to Falkenberg. He puts it up. He is blocked from behind. Rebounded by Hillstead. Hands up the floor. Sends down low to Stevens. Hands it off to Hansen. Hansen puts it up and he's got it. Good play by the Cardinals. Well executed and a 5-point lead for the Lancers. Pass over to Miller. Over to Radical. Over to Thompson. Thompson 6-by-3. Gonna drive inside instead. Puts it up and can't get the floor to fall. Rebounded and sent over to Ty. Ty drives around, puts it up and rims out. Tipped and rebounded by Radical. Radical up the floor. Sends it over to Thompson. Thompson 6-by-3 again. Gonna drive inside and cut back out. Pass over to Bauer. Bauer jumper. Airball's too far. Rebounded by Hillstead. Ty up top. Sends it low to Stevens. Takes the handoff. We're gonna pass off to Hansen instead. He puts up a jumper. And off the rim and out. Rebounded by Radical. Radical over to Thompson. Thompson fakes. And gonna pass back over to Radical. Down low to Bauer. Bauer down low, too far for Falkenberg. Cornish will enter for Miller. And Anderson will enter when we return. Timeout. 18-13, a 5-point lead for the Lancers. 2:13 left in the first half. Hander up the floor. Pass over to Armstead. And pass up top to Stevens. Over to Hillstead, unaware, bounce up Tansen out of bounds. Thompson gonna pass over to Cornish. Down low to Falkenberg, stripped, and picked up by Stevens. And he will travel. Falkenberg will pass into Thompson. Pass over to Radical. Sends it over to Thompson. Over to Cornish. Fakes. Gonna pass over to Radical. Down low to Falkenberg. Over to Radical. He puts it up and he's got it off the glass. 7-point lead for Lancers. 20-13 with a minute 30 left. Hander up the floor. Sends over to Ty. Ty drives around and pass out to a falling Hander. Gets it on the ground and passes back over to Ty. Cuts out, gonna pass it low to Stevens. Stevens out to Hillstead, puts up a three, and off the front of the rim, rebounded by Bauer. Over to Thompson, and he will take it up the floor. Minute left. Gonna pass over to Cornish. Over to Falkenberg. Over to Radical. Sends it all the way back over to Cornish. Up top to Thompson. Over to Radical. Gonna drive in. And it's stripped down low. Picked up by Hillstead. Passed over to Anderson. Sends it over to Hander. Back over to Anderson. Over to Ty. Over to Hillstead. Back over to Ty. Hander. Anderson. Anderson drives in. Stepped on the sideline, and it was pushed by Cornish. 23.9 seconds left. Cardinal ball, trailing by 7. Hansen will enter for Hander. And Hansen will pass it in down low. Sends it over to Hillstead. We're gonna pass up top and send it back over to Hansen. Hansen a three off the front of the rim and out of bounds. 16.6 seconds left. Lancers most likely gonna hold this out and take a final shot, leading by 7, 20-13. Thompson passing to Cornish. Gonna try to push the floor. Over to Bauer. Bauer sends it up top to Radical. He's gonna take a three. And he's got it! This Lancers a 10-point lead, 20-13. Time taken down for 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Tie it, buzzer beater three. And off the front of the rim, back of the rim. 23-13, a 10-point lead for the Lancers following a beautiful three by Radical. Cardinals couldn't get their last second shot in, and Lancers lead by 10 going into the half. Passed into Thompson, and he will take it up the floor. Sends it over to Cornish. Cornish drives, and sends it up top to Thompson. Over to Radical. Radical all the way over to Cornish. Cornish fakes a drive, gonna cut back out and pass down low to Miller. Miller gets stripped, gets it back, and sends it out to Cornish. Cornish pass is deflected and picked up by Thompson. Sends it over to Radical. Fakes. Gonna pass down low to Miller. Miller down low to Leduc. Tipped around and into the hands of Anderson. Ty's got it up top, gonna pass over to Hillstead. Fakes to Anderson, gonna pass back over to Ty. Ty over to Anderson. Down low to Hanner, off his hands and out of bounds. Pass up top to Radical. Radical up the floor. I'm gonna drive around and send it over to Thompson. Down low to Miller. Miller looks. Gonna drive up and is stripped. Out of bounds off the Cardinals. Thompson up top to Cornish. Tipped into the hands of Radical. Up top to Cornish. Over to Thompson. Thompson a three. And this one off. Tipped around and picked up by Miller. Miller up to Cornish, corner over to Thompson. Sends over to Cornish. Over to Radical. All the way over to Thompson. Thompson fakes. And ain't gonna pass over to Cornish. Gonna try to drive in. Put up a jumper. And bounces out. Rebounded by Hillstead. Ty up top. Gonna pass him low, and it's stolen away by Cornish. Cornish up to Radical, and not before he's fouled. Pass all the way over to Radical. Radical down low to Miller. Miller up top to Radical. Radical drives around and sends it over to Thompson. Thompson drives in and all the way back over to Radical. Radical fakes. Drives around, sends it out to Thompson. Thompson goes around, puts up a jumper, and airballs. Off. Leduc tips it back in to Hanner. Steal, pass over to Ty. Over to Anderson. Up top to Hillstead. A three. And he's got it. Cuts the lead down to 7, 23-16. Pass over to Cornish. Cornish up to Miller. Miller drives around. Fakes. And going to pass out to Cornish. Over to Thompson. Thompson drives around. Pass over to Miller. Miller drives in. Loses it. And picked up by Hanner. Tie up the floor. Sends it over to Anderson. Over to Hanner. Back over to Anderson. Over to Ty. Ty over to Anderson. Over to Hanner. Hanner drives in. Puts it up. And he's got it. 5 straight points for Cardinals, and they're back in it down only 5. Radical, high up the floor to Leduc. Leduc fakes, puts it up, and he's got it off the glass. Nice move by Leduc, and the Lancers have a 7-point lead once more. Tie up the floor, sends it over to Hillstead. Pass over to Anderson. Picked up by Hanner, pass over to Anderson. He's gonna pass it out to Ty. Ty a 3, and he's got it again. Gets the lead back to 4. Radical over to Cornish, is stripped. Stolen by Anderson, but he can't control it out of bounds. And timeout. 12-19 left, 4-point lead for the Lancers, 25-21. Thompson on the floor, press over to Radical. No little Duke, and he's blocked. Picked up by, pass over to Hanner, and he's got a 3. Thompson over to Keeney. Keeney up the floor, and gonna pass it to Falkenberg. Out to Thompson. Drives in, puts a reverse layup, and he's got it. Good move by Thompson. The Lancers take a 3-point lead. Tie over to Hanner. Up top to Hillstead. Over to Hanner. Gonna pass back out. He'll drive in, and is blocked and fouled. That's number 24, Jacob. Sorry, Barneson. And Barneson's gonna shoot 2. His first go bounce out the back of the rim. Bauer and Miller will enter for Radical and Leduc. And Barneson will shoot his second. And he'll get this one to fall. Cuts the lead down to 2, 27-25. Thompson gonna pass over to Bauer. Up top to Miller, tipped, and picked up by Thompson. Thompson up the floor, gonna pass over to Keeney. Keeney down low to Falkenberg. He puts it up, and he's got it. Sends the lead out of 2 possessions, 29-25, 11 minutes left. Pass up to Hillstead, over to Ty. Ty up the floor. Sends it over to Barneson. Over to Hanner. Up top to Ty. Sends it down low, and picked up by Hillstead. Tipped out, and into the hands of Barneson. Back to low to Hillstead. Gonna pass it out to Ty. Over to Barneson. Barneson a 3, and bounces out, rebounded by Miller. Sends it over to Thompson, and Thompson will take it up the floor. Drives around. And passes down low to Bauer. Bauer drives in, fakes, and gonna pass up to Keeney. Keeney fakes a 3, drives inside. And 3 seconds in the lane by the Lancers. And timeout by the Cardinals. 29-25, a 4-point lead for the Lancers. 10:24 left, Cardinal ball. (29-25), a 4-point lead for the Lancers. 10:21 left. Cardinal ball. Tie up top. Sends it over to Barneson. Down low, tipped by Keeney, and in the hands of Falkenberg. Falkenberg's got a 2-on-2. Gonna go inside, put it up, and get to the ball! Nice shot by Falkenberg, and the Lancers now with a 6-point lead. Tie up the floor. Gonna back Keeney down. Gonna pass out to Hillstead. Fumbles the pass, gonna get a 3 off. Gonna pass over to Barneson. Gonna drive in and pass out to Hillstead. Takes a 3 and can't get it off again. Over to Barneson. Over to Stevens. Up top to Hanner. Down low to Ty. Ty is stripped by Falkenberg. He's got a 2-on-1. Puts it up and off the front of the rim. Rebounded by Thompson. Thompson dribbles it back out. Sends it over to Miller. Miller drives in, puts up a jumper. And bounces off the back of the rim. Rebounded by Hillstead. Hillstead up the floor. He's got a 1-on-3. Wisely cuts back out. Passes over to Ty. Back over to Hillstead. Back over to Ty. Over to Stevens. Sends it down low to Hanner. Hanner tries to drive in. Gonna pass out to Barneson. Over to Ty. Ty fakes. Drives in. Makes a move. Puts it up. And he's got it off the glass. What a move by Ty. And the Cardinals back within 4. Pass over to Keeney. Keeney drives up. Gonna pass over to Falkenberg. Just handles it. Sends it all the way over and is picked off by Stevens. Pass up to Ty. Over to Stevens. Over to Barneson. Over to Hanner. Hanner a 3. And bounces out. Picked up by Miller. Miller up the floor. Gonna drive around. Loses it for a second. Gets it back. Gonna send it up top to Thompson. Scanning. Gonna drive around. And cut back out. Sends it over to Miller. Miller down low to Falkenberg. Down low is packed again. Send up to Barneson. Barneson up the floor. Fakes. Gets to Thompson in the air and gets the easy layup. Pass over to Thompson. Lead now only 2. Pass over to Falkenberg. Too far, and he cannot save it. Cornish, Leduc, Eichstead, and Radical. will enter for Falkenberg, Miller, Radical, and Thompson. And pass into number 2, Dunham. And he will send it back over to Hanner. Over to Stevens. Up to Barneson. Barneson drives around and going to pass out to Durham. Durham a 3. And he's got it. Just like that. The Cardinals now with a 1-point lead. 32-31. Radical up the floor. Going to cut out. And pass it all the way over to Eichstead. Over to Cornish. Cornish over to Radical. Radical down low to Leduc. Leduc a jumper. And bounces out, rebounded by Eichstead. He is blocked. And out of bounds off the Cardinals. Sends it over to Eichstead. Down low to Leduc. And he will be fouled. Radical passes in down low. Trailing by 1. Sends it up top to Cornish. Cornish should open 3. He takes it. And bounce off the back of the rim. Rebounded by Eichstead. Out to Radical. Radical drives around. Gonna pass over to Bauer. Bauer puts it up. And tips out. Rebounded by Stevens. And pass over to Hanner. Pass down low to Barneson. Tries to drive through. And gonna pass it out to Durham. Over to Hillstead. Hillstead backs out. Fakes a 3. And passes all the way over to Hanner. Hanner puts up a jumper. Off the boards and out. Run by Eichstead, over to Radical. 7 minutes left. Lane's still trailed by 1. Radical up top. Sends over to Eichstead. Eichstead down low to Bauer. Bauer out to Eichstead. Eichstead a 3! And too far. Hanner up the floor. Gonna try to drive around. Pass over to Durham. Too far, too hard, too high, and out of bounds. Thompson will enter for Bauer. Eichstead will pass it into Radical. And he will take it up the floor. Lancer still down by 1, 6:40 left. Gonna pass over to Thompson. Thompson fakes. Gonna pass over to Radical. Radical over to Thompson. He's got the open 3. He takes it. And off the front of the rim. Tipped around and picked up by Barneson. He's got a 1-on-2 in his favor. Goes around and can't get on Thompson this time. Run by Hillstead. Gets stripped. Gets it back. And a pass to Barneson. Barneson off top to Stevens. Stevens over to Durham. Durham over to Hillstead. Hillstead a 3. And too far. Eichstead can't get the rebound, but tipped off of Barneson and out of bounds. Eichstead over to Thompson. Pressed by the Cardinals. Thompson up the floor. Gonna pass over to Leduc. Leduc up top to Thompson. Thompson over to Eichstead. Tipped out of bounds. Miller will enter for Eichstead. 6 minutes left. Lancer still trailed by 1. Miller will pass it in the corner. Into Thompson. Thompson over to Radical. Radical all the way over to Miller. Miller going to pass over to Thompson. Thompson fakes and a pass over to Radical. Down low to Cornish. Cornish hands it off to Radical. Picked up by Stevens. Durham up the floor. He's going to go into Thompson and tipped out of bounds off of Thompson. Hanner pass over to Hansen and tipped out of bounds off of Thompson. Pass over to Durham. Over to Barneson. Trips and was tripped by Thompson. Thompson second. Barneson will pass it in from the corner. Gets into Durham. Will drive around. And gets trapped. Gonna pass it. And just saved by Hillstead back up to Durham. Durham back over to Hillstead. Hillstead fakes. Gonna drive around. All the way in. And pass back up to Durham. Over to Barneson. Barneson fakes a 3. Trips. And over to Durham. Durham over to Hillstead. Hillstead fakes a 3. Gonna pass up to Durham. Durham over to Barneson. Barneson going to pass it over to Durham. Over to Hillstead. Drives up top. Goes inside. Puts it up. Nope. I think he put it up. Either way, he missed. Barneson pass over to Hanner. Hanner over to Durham. Over to Hillstead. Over to Durham. Durham down low. Tipped and picked up by Cornish. Cornish gets stuck in transition. Tipped out and picked up by Stevens. Back over to Hillstead. Hillstead pass is tipped away by Cornish and out of bounds. Lancer Cardinal ball. And we have a timeout. 31-32. Lancer still trailed by 1 with 4:33 left. 31-32. Lancers trail by 1. 4:33 left in the game. Passing to Durham. Sends it over to Hillstead. Down low, tipped by Falkenberg and out of bounds. That'll be Lancer ball. Radical passing into Thompson. Back over to Radical. Radical up the floor. Gonna pass over to Falkenberg. Sends it over to Thompson. Over to Radical. Radical back over to Thompson. Thompson scanning. Gonna pass up to Miller. Miller tries to drive around. Gonna pass over to Eichstead. Down low to Falkenberg. Falkenberg out to Miller. Miller fakes. Gonna pass over to Radical. Radical over to Miller. Miller over to Thompson. Thompson with a jumper. Too far. Rebounded by Hanner. 3:50 left. Lancer still trail by 1. Cardinal ball. Tie up top. Gonna pass over to Hillstead. Down low and stolen by Falkenberg. Passing to Radical. Radical up the floor. Gonna pass over to Thompson. Thompson drives in. Gonna pass down low to Miller. Tipped out of bounds, and that's gonna stay with the Lancers. Leduc will enter for Eichstead. And Anderson will enter for Durham. Radical pass it in. Sends it up top to Miller. Miller over to Thompson. Thompson out to Radical. Radical over to Miller. Fakes. Gonna pass over to Radical. Radical scanning. Gonna pass over to Miller. Miller looking. Gonna pass it low to Falkenberg. Wasn't ready for it. Gets it back out to Miller. Thompson over to Radical. Down low to Falkenberg. Down low to Leduc. Pass tipped and picked away by Hanner. Sorry, Anderson. Pass over to Ty. Ty pass picked up by Falkenberg. Pass over to Thompson. He wasn't ready for it. Tipped down and picked up by Ty. Pass all the way over to Hillstead. Down low to Stevens. Too far. Picked up by Hanner. Hanner drives in. Puts up a jumper. Too far and picked up by Falkenberg. Pass over to Radical. Radical up the floor. Gonna drive around and pass over to Thompson. Thompson's got a jumper. And bounces out, rebounded by Falkenberg, tipped out, and on the floor, picked up by Anderson, and Thompson fouled. Thompson's third. Bauer will enter for Falkenberg. And pass into Anderson, and he will take it up the floor. Pass over to Ty. Ty drives in, puts it up, and air balls. Out of bounds off the Cardinals, that'll be Lancer ball. 2 minutes left, still a 1-point game. Lancers need a bucket. Bauer, and we got a timeout by the Lancers. 32-31, a 1-point lead for the Cardinals, 2:03 left. Pass into Thompson, and he will take it up the floor. Gonna drive in, pass to low to Leduc. Leduc gonna pass up top to Miller, just handles it. Tipped out of bounds, and nope, picked up by Radical. Pass over to Miller. Miller all the way over to Thompson. Thompson drives around. Forced to cut back out. Gonna pass it low to LeDuc. LeDuc stripped. Gets it back. And gonna pass out to Miller. Miller over to Radical. Radical over to Thompson. Minute 30 left. Thompson drives in. Cuts back out. Gonna pass over to Radical. Radical drives in. Loses it for a second. Gets it back. Gonna pass over to Miller. Miller looking. Gonna pass it low to Bauer. He's stripped. And this time it's gonna be picked up by the Cardinals. Anderson up the floor. About a minute left. Hillstead in the corner. He's trapped. Gonna pass over and picked up by Ty. Over to Hanner, back over to Ty. All the way back over to Anderson. Anderson over to Hillstead. Hillstead gonna take a three. Gonna pass all the way over to Ty. Under a minute now. Ty passes over to Anderson. Anderson up top, Ty blocked. And picked up by Hillstead. Back over to Anderson. This time he'll be fouled by Thompson. Only the third foul on the Lancers, far from a 1-and-1. So it'll be Ty passing in from the corner for the Cardinals. Sends it to Anderson. Time ticking under a minute. Anderson gonna drive in, and he is fouled again. That is Thompson's fourth. Cornish and Fulkenberg will enter for Thompson. Nope, sorry. Bauer and LeDuc. And Ty will pass it in. Sends it in to Anderson. 45 seconds left. Pass over to Ty. Lancers need a defensive stop here. Ty bouncing around. Scanning. And took too long, couldn't cross the blue line in time, and that's going to be Lancer ball. 37 seconds left. Crucial, Lancers need a point here. Been scoreless for the past 5 minutes, both teams. Pass into Thompson. 35 seconds left, may not get another possession after this. Gonna pass over to Radical. Radical down low to Fulkenberg. Down low Cornish with the blip! And passes out! And foul on the Lancers. Cornish just couldn't get it to fall. 28.4 seconds left. It's going to be Cardinal ball. Lancers, 16 fouls. Next one will be a 1-and-1. Pressure for the Lancers. Ty will pass it in. Sends it down low to Anderson. Anderson all the way over to Ty. Ty up the floor. Time ticking. Pass over to Anderson. Anderson is nearly stripped. Gets it back and a pass over to Hillstead. 17 seconds left. Ty up the floor. Ty up top, gonna pass over to Anderson. Anderson up top to Hillstead. And he's gonna be fouled by Thompson. That was his fifth. And Eichstead will enter for Thompson. 10.2 seconds left. That'll be a 1-and-1 for the Cardinals. Lancers need a rebound here. Even if he makes both these shots, it'll still be a one-possession game for the Lancers. Need only a three. Hillstead's first. It's gonna bounce out. Tipped up in the air. And picked up by the Lancers. Miller up the floor. Time ticking. Miller puts up a jumper. Off the rim. Picked up by Fulkenberg. And can't get the ball. Lancers couldn't get the timeout. And the Cardinals are gonna win it. 32-31. 1 point lead. Refs discussing. Everyone looking around. And it appears that will be game. 32-31, Lancers lose by 1. Couldn't score anything in the last 5-6 minutes. And Cardinals gonna take the win. 1 in C team, and they're gonna win in JV too on a close one, 32-31. Varsity will start in about 30 minutes. But the stream will start in about 5 for band.